Is big tech to blame for America's youth mental health crisis? The Seattle Public School District has just filed a 92-page lawsuit against the parent companies of TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Snapchat. The suit alleges the social media giants, quote, intentionally contributed to the youth mental health crisis in the United States and has impeded the ability of its schools to, quote, fulfill their educational mission. The school district is the largest in the state of Washington. They've got nearly 50,000 students. They're seeking unspecified monetary damages. And the lawsuit cites a lot of data. For example, from 2009 to 2019, the rate of high school students who reported persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness increased by 40% to 1 out of every 3 kids. The share of kids seriously considering attempting suicide, that increased by 36%. The share creating a suicide plan increased by 44%. From 2007 to 2019, suicide rates among youth aged 10 to 24 in the United States increased by 57%. By 2018, suicide, the second leading cause of death for youth ages 10 to 24. From 2007 to 2016, emergency room visits for youth aged 5 to 17, they rose 117% for anxiety disorders, 44% for mood disorders, 40% for attention disorders. Several citations in this lawsuit are of data analysis by my next guest, Jean Twenge, the author of the influential book iGen. In response to the lawsuit, the global head of safety for Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram, released this statement, quote, "We want teens to be safe online. We automatically set teens' accounts to private when they join Instagram, and we send notifications encouraging them to take regular breaks. We don't allow content that promotes suicide, self-harm, or eating disorders." A spokesperson for Google, which owns YouTube, responded as follows, "We've invested heavily in creating safe experiences for children. We provide parents with the ability to set reminders, limit screen time, and block specific types of content on unsupervised devices." Joining me now is Jean Twenge, professor of psychology at San Diego State University, the author of the book that I mentioned, iGen. Her latest book will come out in April, and it will be called Generations. Dr. Twenge, this is really important. The data that I cited that comes from the lawsuit speaks of this period from the mid-2000s to about 2020 as a comparison. Why is that timeline so significant?
Well, you know, there is a lot of attention now to this adolescent mental health crisis, but so much of it focuses on, oh, it's because of the pandemic. This did not start with the pandemic. It started more than 10 years ago, around 2011 or 2012, which happens to be right at the time that Snapchat was founded, Facebook bought Instagram, and social media moved from being fairly optional among teens to being virtually mandatory and extremely popular.
So there can be no dispute as to the fact that the data says we've got this mental health crisis, that it happened at a time of the explosion of the uses of this technology. When your book first came out, you would often speak to me about correlation and not causation. Where are you today?
We have a lot more experimental evidence now suggesting it's not just correlation, that it is causation. So my colleague John Haidt and I have a Google Doc with all of the evidence in this area, and it includes studies that can show causation. And the majority of those studies show that, say, cutting back on social media can lead to better mental health. And there's other studies showing that you increase your use of social media, then depression often follows.
So what should the tech giants who are on the receiving end of this litigation from the Seattle Public Schools, what is it they ought to be doing?
Oh, there's so many other things that they could be doing. As just one, they could enforce their own age minimums. You're supposed to be 13 to have a social media account, but that's not enforced. You don't have to show an ID. You don't even need parental permission. You can just check a box or lie about your birthday, and boom, you have an Instagram account or a TikTok account. So that's a place to start, because we have 8, 9, 10-year-old kids on these platforms that were not designed for children. They weren't even designed for teens. They were designed for adults. And because of brain development, and anybody who has kids knows this, there's a reason why we don't let 8-year-olds drive. There's a reason why you have to be 18 or 21 to buy cigarettes. Yet social media is almost completely unregulated. So parental permission would be another great step. Not being able to use social media during the nighttime hours would be another. We also have an epidemic of sleep deprivation among teens, which very well might be one of the reasons why we have a mental health crisis, because not sleeping enough is very, very strongly linked to depression, suicidal thoughts, self-harm, all of these issues we're seeing.
Can I say that I think that 92-page complaint, albeit very dense, publicly available, you can pull the PDF, I'll put it in my social media, as a matter of fact, again, is worthy of every parent's attention.